A very good morning to everyone present here. I, Harpunit Singh Kohli, will privileged to welcome you all to the session 2 of day 1 on behalf of Geeta Radhan International Business School in the AICTE ISTE sponsored online induction refresher program based on the theme Outcome Based Education, the NBA approach. Geeta Radhan International Business School was established in the year 2004 and it has been graded A by National Assessment and Accreditation Council in the second cycle. This session would be conducted to give an understanding about the New Education Policy 2020. The New Education Policy was approved by the Union Cabinet of India on July 28, 2020, built on the foundation pillars of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. This policy is aligned to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and aims to transform India into a vibrant knowledge society and global knowledge superpower by making both school and college education more holistic, flexible, multidisciplinary, suited to the 21st century needs, and aimed at bringing out the unique capabilities of each student. To give an extensive insight into the new education policy, today we have with us Professor Sandeep Srivastava, HOD, Department of HSS, JP University of Engineering and Technology, Raghughar, Guna. Professor Sandeep Srivastava has completed his Masters in Business Administration with specialization in marketing in 2001 from Kanpur University. He has completed his PhD in marketing from ABV, Indian Institute of Information Technology and Management, Gwalior. The title of his research was Designing Customer-Centric New Product Development Process. Sir has been working in the area of marketing, in which he has been studying innovation, new product development, project management techniques, and etc. He has also been working in the area of consumer behavior and competency mapping. His research interest includes new product development process and innovation management and consumer behavior. Sir, I welcome you. Now, before we start the session, I would like to remind all the attendees about certain rules that we have to follow in this particular session. There will be polls shared on the chat box of your meeting that you can see. So you will have to fill the polls. In case if there are candidates who have missed the polls, it can lead to their non-availability of certificates towards the end of the FDP on the 10th of the January. Along with that, there will be feedback forms given after the end of every session. For example, this session ends at 1 p.m. The feedback link would be open at 12:45. You'll have to fill the form, and the form link would be open from about 15 to 20 minutes. We'll duly inform all the participants about that. And finally, at end of each day, there will be a quiz session held for all the candidates. You'll have to fill the questions. The questions would be pertaining to the sessions that undertook on that particular day. Now, I would request Professor Sandeep Srivastava sir to take over the session and tell the audience and the attendees about the new education policy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Puneet. Thank you for inviting me in this auspicious day. And I'd like to first of all thank AICT for conducting such a nice program. And I would also like to thank Professor Vikas Gupta for giving me the opportunity to speak on this very new and you can say burning topic, which is national education policy. Now, I'll be talking about this particular aspect with the help of PowerPoint presentation. So I'll be sharing with you all my presentation so that we can have a better understanding of this one. Okay, so I'm going to share with you all my PPT. Okay, in case if a problem is there, kindly let me know. I hope yeah, it is visible.
Okay, so we can start now, sir.
Yeah. So can you just make it in the presentation mode? Means
okay. From my side, it is in the presentation mode, sir.
Okay, so I might not be able to see it. No problem, no problem. I'll carry on with this. Okay, so with your permission, let me start.
Please, sir. Please.
Okay, so first of all, I apologize from my side for the technical glitch that have happened from my side. But nevertheless, let us start this particular session. I would like to thank AICT and the organizer, Professor Vikas Gupta, for giving me the opportunity to talk on this very important aspect, that is National Education Policy 2020. Now, I'll be talking about why this particular policy was needed. Now, what is happening in the today's context, that our education is able to produce good technocrat, as I'm quoting. It has been said by a lot of people, including various official from UGC and likewise. So they are saying, and it is what we observe, that our education is able to produce good technocrats, or you can say good engineers or the doctors, but our education is unable to produce good or make good human being. So the government felt long back that there should be some kind of change or some kind of improvement in the existing education policy, and that is the reason why we have right now with us new education policy, National Education Policy 2020. Now, this particular policy 2020 replaces the National Education Policy NEP 1986, and under the chairmanship of late Shri TSR Subramaniam, Committee for Evolution of the New Education Policy submitted its report in May 2016. Then Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan was the chairman of the Committee of the Evolution of the New Education Policy 2020, that we call as the NEP 2020. And this particular policy was approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29th of July 2020. The Ministry of HRD undertook a rigorous consultation process in formulating this particular draft policy. Over 2 lakh suggestions from 2.5 lakh gram panchayats, 6,600 blocks, 6,000 urban local bodies, 676 district were received, and after due consultation, this particular policy was drafted. So as you all can understand that how well this particular policy was drafted, taking care of the input from all the stakeholders. Next slide, please. Now we'll be talking about various. Sir, can you just go to the next slide? Next slide.
Yes, sir. We are changing. We have changed from our site.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Sorry to disturb. Can you please make the slide show, sir, the bigger one, and full screen mode?
Sir, actually there is a technical error from our end, so we have started the presentation in a slideshow mode, but it is not visible. So we are trying to get technical team. So sorry for any inconvenience.
Okay, fine, sir. Fine.
Okay, and now we'll be talking about the vision of the National Education Policy. The first vision was that the government wanted to create an education system that contributes to equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. Second vision was to develop a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental rights, duties, constitution values, bonding with one's country, and a conscientious awareness of the one's role and responsibility in the changing world. And the third one was instill skills, value, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development, and living in global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global scenario. These are basically the visions of National Education Policy 2020, wherein the government and the draft, the people who were included in the draft were concerned about the vision that what this policy would do in a longer period of time. So they thought of like developing a system that could contribute to an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. Now, right now we are facing a lot of problem. Like there are a lot of people who are not getting the education. There are people, there are students who are not participating in the education process because there are a lot of hurdles, or you can say hindrances, like the language. Language is one of them. So we have to look into a broader perspective wherein we can look into various aspects through which we can help the students to get the education which they deserve, but they are not getting it because of certain reasons. Now, kindly move on to the next slide. Now, there are certain key principles of the NEP. The principles are like respect for diversity and local context. So this particular policy was driven by certain key principles. The first one is respect for diversity and local content in all the curriculum, pedagogy and policy. So we have to respect the diversity. This was not there in the earlier, you can say, policy. But right now, this particular draft policy says that we should respect the diversity which exists in our country, and we should also look into the local context. So the things should be driven by the local context, and we should respect the diversity. Equity and inclusion as the cornerstone of all education decisions. We should look into the aspect of equity and inclusion. So every part of the society, everyone who is there should be the part of this education policy. So whether a student is rich or whether a student is poor, whether the student is from North India or South India, whether a person know English or the person does not know English, everyone should be taken care of. So that is the principle of equity. Then we have community participation, wherein we look for the encouragement and facilitation for philanthropic private community participation. So we look for the community participation, and we look for the input that one can get from the community, because we can get a lot of good input from the community, because they are the people who know best about the children which are living near them. So we should always respect those kinds of things. As we all know that in the present scenario, there are people who are coming from very humble background, but they are quite good mentors and good, you can say, brand ambassador for a lot of things. So we have to take care of that also. So the next is use of technology, and we are witnessing this. We are right now in an age wherein ICT, information and communication technology, is helping a lot in imparting the education to all the stakeholders. So we have to look into the technology, and we have to remove various barriers which are there, so that we can help everyone to get the education. Then next principle is emphasize conceptual understanding rather than rote learning. Learning for exam, we have to look into the conceptual understanding of the concepts. So we have to move away from orthodox methods of teaching and learning, and we have to look into the new aspect wherein we try to help the students to understand the concepts. Let me give you certain examples. Like I was taking one interview wherein interview of the PhD candidate, and I asked like, the topic was the field was mathematics. Now I asked the candidate to let me know about what you mean by the integration and differentiation. The candidate could easily write down the formula, and then he can write down the formula and tell me like, this is what is integration and this is what is differentiation. Now then I asked the candidate, like, tell me, so if I am a layman, I do not know mathematics, tell me how I can understand the concept of integration or differentiation. Now, in that particular context, the candidate was unable to explain that concept to me. So this is the problem with our existing education. Like the students are memorizing the formulas like differentiation and integration. Differentiation and integration, they are able to mug up the formula and they can solve the problems. But when it comes about the conceptual understanding of the concept of differentiation and integration, they are blank. So we should try to look into that particular aspect, because that is which is very important. Now we have to also consider the unique capabilities in each and every student. A lot of students are not very good in certain, you can say, traditional subjects, but they might be very good in other aspects. Like some of them might be very good in painting, some of them could be very good in you can say writing the poem. So we should also respect that, and we should identify that, and we should try to inculcate those skills in them, so that they can do what they love to do. This is also very important. In present scenario, the education is forced onto the students. I hope all of you will agree with that. In the 12th class, a lot of pressure is there from the parents that you have to go into top-notch institutions like IITs or NITs. Now, the student does not feel comfortable in most of the time, because that is not something which he or she like to do in his or her life. And I hope all of you might have seen the film Three Idiots, wherein that particular film is very a good film, in the sense that they talk about the love for your work. So you should try to do what you love, and that is something which our education should try to give to the student. So this opportunity should be there with the student. Now, the next principle is critical thinking and creativity, wherein we have to look into the critical thinking and creativity, because the country wherein this kind of thing is happening are the country who are expanding and flourishing. Take the example of Western countries like England or Germany and USA, and then we can talk about the country like China. Therein a lot of innovations are happening. So we have to encourage the student to take decision and indulge into the innovation. Thankfully, AICT and our government bodies are quite looking into this particular aspects, and they are well into this particular domain. And thanks to the vision of our honorable Prime Minister, that right now you might have heard of the concepts like Make in India. So this is what is happening. So we have to inculcate that also in our mainstream. The next principle is continuous review. It is based on the sustained research and regular assessment by the educational experts. So whatever we are doing, there should be constant review about it, and we should try to look like what we are doing, what is required, and we also try to do the benchmarking. Now, the benchmarking is the concept through which we try to see where we stand vis-a-vis the best in the class. So we have to see what the best in the class is doing and what we are doing. Like if we have to look in the context of international competitions, like we have to compete with best in the class universities, like Stanford, like Oxford, like good universities in Israel, good universities in China or Japan. So we have to look like what they are doing and what we are doing. So there will obviously be some kind of gap. So we have to identify that gap, and we have to then bridge that gap so that we can do well in our respective domains. So these are the key principles of the new education policy, which is drafted by the drafting committee. Next slide, please. Okay, now we'll be talking about universal access to the early childhood care and education. This particular policy talks about the early childhood and care and education for all. So they are saying that universal access should be there for all the students between 3 to 6 years, access to the free, safe and high quality early childhood care and education. Fundamental learning curriculum should be there from the age group of 3 to 8, and it is divided into two parts. The first one is between 3 to 6 in ECCE, and from age 6 to then from class 1 and 2 in the primary school. Sir, could you please squeeze it? I am not able to see the whole slides. तो उसको आप, हाँ, it's okay. Then we have preparatory classes. Prior to the age of 5, every child will move to the preparatory class or Bal Vatika, which that is before the class 1. So this is about the universal access to the early childhood care. So this policy talks about the students, the children who are in their tender age, and this policy is saying that we have to take care of each and every children who is present in this particular country. So holistically, we have to involve each and every children, irrespective of the background from where that particular person belongs. So it is the state responsibility to give the education to all the needy people. So we have to look each and every student. Next slide, please. Now, how we'll do that, ensuring universal access to education at all level. So there are multiple pathways to learning involving both formal and non-formal education mode. So this education policy talks about multiple pathways, then building schools, the government and other non-government agencies should indulge into building more schools so that we can promote the education to all, promoting both government and non-government philanthropic organization to build a school. So we have to just make a conducive type of environment wherein everybody could think of opening up or building up of the schools. Then we have to look for the learning outcomes. Focus will be on achieving desired learning outcome at all levels. This is what has been done in various universities. We are basically looking for the learning outcomes. So in each courses that we teach, there should be some kind of learning outcome, and at the end of that particular course, we should achieve the learning outcomes. We also call that as LO. So learning outcomes should be there, and we should be able, as a teacher, as an educator, we should be able to achieve those learning outcomes. So the courses should be based on learning outcomes. So, and this is what is happening in most of the universities right now. Bring back dropouts. A lot of people, a lot of children have left the schools in the last 2 years because of the COVID scenario. We all know that a lot of students have left the schools. So we should try to bring back the students who basically left the schools with consistent efforts. So we should try to do that. Alternative center should be there. Alternative and innovative education center should be there. Right now, various incubation and innovation centers have been established by various universities, wherein the students are given a conducive environment to do the innovations. Then we should also look at the peer tutoring, suitable for all categories, business and personal presentations. Peer tutoring means like I know certain topic, I should try to help my peers to understand that particular topic. And this is what is happening in various good universities right now. There are faculty seminars, there are various presentations wherein people or the teachers, they try to share their knowledge with each other, and that is also applicable to the students. Like the 4th year student who is expert in a particular topic, try to help his junior, maybe in the 1st or 2nd year, to learn that particular concept. That is the concept of peer tutoring, and we should also try to look into that in a greater detail. Next slide, please. So what are the expected outcome of this particular policy? Universalization of the access from elementary level to the secondary level, ensure equity and inclusion. We should ensure the equity and the inclusion of all the part of the society. There should be no demarcation between the people or the children between, say, for example, poor and rich. So whatever best is given, it should be all, it should be given to the poor children, or it should be given to the rich children. So there should not be any demarcation between rich and poor. So likewise, there should be no demarcation based on caste, based on creed, based on religion, based on language, and likewise. So this is something which is very important aspect of the new education policy, bringing back 2 crore dropout people back to the education system, attain the goals of retaining all the children in the school until completion of the secondary education, improve quality and achievement of the learning outcome, fundamental literacy and numeracy program. So we should try to improve the quality and achievement of the learning outcome. So we should try to improve the overall quality of the education. Because if we do not do that, then we will left behind with other competing, you can say, countries, because a lot of people are complaining about it, and we have to be very rigorous in and very strict on the parameters of educational quality. So we have to look that in detail. Focus on the 21st century skills in teaching, learning, and assessment. So we have to also look into the teaching aspect, learning aspect, and the assessment aspect. So how we are teaching, that is also very important. So we need to develop new ways to teach the concept so that it seems interesting to the students, and with the help of that particular delivery, the student learn a lot of things, and accordingly the assessment should be made. Now the assessment is also very important. With the help of the traditional way of assessment, whether we are assessing the right skills, there is a big question mark. So we have to also look into that particular aspect. Then we have to look at the resource sharing. School complexes are there. We have to also share the resources. The government of India has started the MOOC program, massive online courses. With the help of that, these MOOC programs, the government of India is sharing the resources so that any person can just look into that, and that student can benefit out of that particular resources. Effective governance should be there, separation of powers and the common norms. So governance is also very important. So there are various regulatory bodies, so they should do the effective governance, and overcoming the language barrier in learning. So this is also very important. And right now, this education policy talk about it in a greater aspect. So they are saying that language should not be the barrier in education. In this particular aspect, I want to give the example of the country like Russia. Earlier it was USSR, and they learned physics, mathematics, and all those subjects in their own language. It is not English. So there is a misconception that if you read and write in English, if you learn in English, then only you will learn that particular concept. But this is just a misconception. The USSR people are the first to reach to the space, and we all know the advances in their technology. So they are doing in their own language. So why not we? So why can't we learn engineering in local language, be it be Hindi, be it be Tamil, be it be Marathi, be it be Kannada? be it be Punjabi. So why we cannot learn the basic concepts of engineering in our local language? And thankfully, the government of India has taken a good initiative in this particular aspect. So the barriers of language is shedding away. Then a common standard for public and private school education should be there. So it should not be like that. A lot of care should be given only to the private school education, and likewise we should not give proper care to the public education. But the reality is that there is a huge gap between the education which we can see in the private school and the public school. So the problem is there, but the governments are doing a lot of things. So hopefully, when we achieve our target by 2040, we'll see a similar kind of educational institutions, whether it be private or public. Next slide, please. Now, this is just an example of how well there is the transformation is detailed in the new education policy. So transforming curricular and pedagogical structure, as you can see here, that on the left column, we have the existing academic structure, and on the right side, we have the new academic structure. Now, new pedagogical and curricular structure of the school education is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, 3 years in Anganwadi, preschool, and 12 years in schools. As you can see here, we have 4 years from class 9 to 12th, age 14 to 18. Then we have, prior to that, we have middle stage of the education, 3 years of education from class 6 to 8th. Then we have preparatory from 3 years onward, from age for 3 years between 8 to 11. And then we have foundational level for class 1 and 2, age group 6 to 8, and likewise. So here we can see a huge transformation in the academic structure, and with the help of this particular academic structure, we'll try to impart education to a better way, and we can focus the age group, and accordingly we can give the education to all. If we look at the existing structure, it is 10 years up till 10th, and then we have 2 years plus 2, so between 16 to 18 age. This is the structure, but right now this particular education policy is propagating the new academic structure. So it consists of 4 stages: secondary stage, middle stage, preparatory stage, and the foundation stage. So these are basically the new way of looking into the old academic structure, and hopefully when this will be implemented, it will transform the education in a very good way. Next slide, please. Now, early childhood education learning in the formative years. So right now we are focusing on the school education. After that, I'll be talking about the higher education. So like when we're talking about early childhood education, there should be a lot of things which should be there in the children. Like we should be able to develop the curiosity. This is something which is absolutely important. If there is curiosity amongst the student will love that particular concept, and he or she will try to explore more about that particular area. But if something is not very curious, he or she will not look into that particular aspect, and he or she will not devote much of his or her time to understand that particular concept. And here comes the role of the educator, the teacher, to develop the curiosity amongst the student. So you have to come up with new ways to teach the student so that he or she can learn more about it. Then we should also start inculcating the logical thinking and problem solving uh, skills in the student. This is also very important. We should try to think logically. And yeah, you want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, I am listening.
Yeah, sir. Good morning. I'm Professor Krishnanand from Bangalore, sir, Karnataka.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So, like we talked about, like learning in these engineering subjects and all in Indian languages, which ACT has anyway proposed from this year to do it. But the issue is, sir, from the school level, like from maybe from kindergarten till the 10th standard or 12th standard, most of the students have studied in these international schools, that CBSE, ICSE and all, where the majority of the instruction is in English only, including the terminologies and the medium of instruction. So suddenly when they come to engineering, if you come back to your own native language like Kannada or Tamil or Punjabi, it would be too difficult for them to even digest those words also, sir, because they would have already learned those things in English language only. So from the like when the NEP is implemented, if they make it from the school to the engineering level, that's good. Suddenly in engineering, if you start with that kind of a thing, even for teachers also it is quite difficult, sir. That's what is like many of our faculty, we are facing the same issue now. So your opinion on that?
Very true, sir. I totally agree with you. And this should be done in the from the starting level, and hopefully this particular new education policy, although I have not gone in detail about it, but I think that this particular aspect is taken care of, that the language should not be the barrier in all the levels, not only in the higher education, but from the school education. So what I think is that this particular aspect is there from the school education, and very rightly said, if the children or the student is very well versed with the one language, he or she cannot do well in higher education. So I do agree with you, and this is something which this new education policy says, that the language should not be the hurdle. So if a student is coming from a very humble background, whether it be any language, Assami or Kannada or Hindi, so like there was one saying and the myth, I'll call that as the myth, that if one can speak in English, then he is above other person who is speaking in native language. So this kind of myth, or you can say thing, was prevalent in the past, but the government is trying to change that, and it will be changed hopefully in the coming days when this particular policy will be totally implemented, and then it will be there. And as I have from the start of my this particular topic, I have given you the example of certain countries like USSR, or I can take the example of China, or I can take the example of Japan. So they are basically doing everything in their own native language. So it is quite a myth that one can only learn good concepts in English. So it is not like that, and the government of India has recognized that, and in this particular education policy we are talking about it. We are talking about it, that language should not be the hurdle. It should not hinder from the learning. So that is absolutely true, whatever you are saying, and hopefully this particular aspect is taken care of by the national education policy. So that is it. Then we were talking about early childhood. So there are certain things that should be taken care of, like art, craft, and music. And right now we are seeing development in the field of fine arts. So there are certain dedicated universities of the fine arts, like Flame University. It's a private university, although Flame University is there. Then we have Ashoka University. So therein they are talking about fine arts. in earlier days, this particular aspect was not liked much by a lot of people. Then we have to talk about the relationship with the nature, because there should not be any aspect wherein we can do something neglecting our nature. So we should try to tell the student that we should be able to help them to understand the nature, and we should try to inculcate the relationship with the nature. What is happening in Delhi, we all know about it. What is happening in Delhi, we all know about it. So this the Delhi and the NCR region, we have just seen the Yamuna river in the Chhat. So we have seen foams, and the people were taking a dip for auspicious rituals. So they had to dip in foamed Yamuna river. And we also have seen Delhi, wherein at 12 p.m. In noon, there was totally black kind of atmosphere. It was smog, and nobody knew about it earlier in earlier days. It is all what is happening. So we have to tell the students that we have to take care of the nature, because that is absolutely very important. Likewise, there should be other aspects, like there should be teamwork and collaboration. We should teach the student about that. Play-based and discovery-based learning should be there. So we should try to give them certain case studies, try to tell them certain stories. With the help of that, we should try to give a lot of things to the students. Then we should also look into the ethics part. This is something which is very important. There is one course which is mandated by the regulatory body, that is Human Values and Professional Ethics, and which universities are teaching to the students. This particular ethics part should also be inculcated in the school education, and this particular educational policy talks about that. So the student should know about the ethical aspects of the life. So they should also take care of that ethical aspects. Self-identity should be there. So our education should be able to help the student to learn about himself or herself, and that particular aspect of self-identity should be inculcated in the students. Then we should also help them to learn the etiquettes, the behavior, and the emotional development. Like our education should tell that we should help the elders. We should respect our elders. We should love others, and we should do whatever is required to make a healthy society. So this is what we should try to do in the early childhood education. That is in the formative years. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, one very important aspect is the reduction in curriculum. The government of India, with the help of this new education policy, they are saying that there should be reduction in the curriculum. So we should include the core essentials. We should include the critical thinking. Then there should be interactive classes. There should be experiential learning, and experiential learning is the concept which is already inculcated in the curricular aspect of the school right now. So experiential learning should be there. The education should be fun. It should be creative. It should be collaborative. There should be less weight in the bag of the students. We all have seen our children, how heavy is their bags. कितने उनके bags कितने heavy होते हैं, हम सबको पता है. We all know about it. So we should reduce the weight of the bag. The learning should be fun. The learning should be creative. It should be collaborative. There should be interactive class. Interactive classes means that it should not be in the lecturing mode. Lecturing mode means we are lecturing and the students are only listening. We should have a two-way communication. Like we should say something, and we should also try to learn what the students are thinking about what I am delivering to them. So it should be interactive class, and we should also help them to go for the critical thinking. And we should focus on the core essential of the concept. So this is something which we should try to do. Next slide, please. As I have already told in my earlier slide, that the focus should be on learning outcomes, competencies, and subject integration. Learning outcomes are very important. From each and every courses that we teach to the student, there should be some learning outcomes, and we should be able to achieve those learning outcomes after the end of the particular course. So there should be focus on the learning outcomes, and we also need to look at the competencies. So there are a lot of competencies which are required to complete a particular course. So we should also try to look into the competency aspect of education. So the outcome-based education should be there, and which should be based on the competency. So there are certain competencies which are required to learn a particular topic or particular aspect, and we should try to identify those competencies, and we should try to help the students to achieve those competencies. Like, say for example, if a student is learning mathematics, some concept, then there he should be competent enough to make good calculations. So if there is some way with the help of which we can reduce the time of calculation, then we should try to inculcate that also in the education. So that is something which we should look into that. Then there should be integration of the subject. This is also what is happening. Through arts integrated, sports integrated, ICT integrated, and storytelling based pedagogy, among others, as a standard pedagogy. Means we should try to integrate diverse subjects. Like we should try to include the sports, we should try to include the arts, we should try to include storytelling in our pedagogy. So we should try to take different subjects and try to integrate that, so that we can help the student in a better way to understand the concept. Development of scientific temper, we should try to develop the scientific temper in the students' mind, so that they can think in a scientific way. There should not be any hard separation between curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular aspect. Right now, there is a very well-defined demarcation between curricular and co-curricular activities, or maybe extracurricular activities. So the new education policy is saying that there should not be any hard separation between curricular and co-curricular activities or extracurricular activities. They are all similar kind of things. And there should not be any demarcation between academic and vocational kind of things, special science subjects or the humanities subjects, sports, and likewise. So there should not be any other kind of demarcation between a lot of things which exist in the today's education system. So this particular policy is saying that there should be very soft, or you can say separation between curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular activities, or maybe from academic to vocational kind of things. Emphasis on digital literacy. Right now, we are trying to impart and emphasize on the digital literacy, because a lot of things are happening in the digital arena. A lot of knowledge is there in tangible form and in intangible form in various domains. And when we're talking about digital literacy, we're talking about the available material which is in the digital form, and we can all use that knowledge for the betterment of ourselves and our you can say students. Then promotion of multilingual teaching. This is what I was talking about. Promotion is promoting states to enter into bilateral agreements with nearby states to hire language teachers, and there should not be any hurdle while imparting the education to people who come from diverse background. Means the people who are coming from diverse language background. So say for example, if a person is from South India and he is well versed with Tamil and Telugu, and he is studying something in North India, then there should be some teacher who should be able to teach them and tell them that what is it, and they should help them out to basically understand other things in a critical way. The same is also applicable in vice versa scenario, the situation. So there should be the appointment of various language teachers in various schools in different states. So there should be some kind of agreement between state governments and the governments, and they should promote the appointment of these kinds of teacher in different schools. Next slide, please. Okay, now we should also look at the mental and physical health and well-being of the student. So we should look for the health checkups of the students. We should also try to let them know about the benefit of reduction of weight of school bags. Like I was talking about it, we have to let the people understand, means let the educator understand that there is no good in increasing the weight of the school bags. So in earlier slide, it was emphasized that it should there should be reduction in the curriculum. And this is what the AICT is doing in higher education also. The credits are decreasing. In earlier days, it was 190, 200 credit were required to complete the BTech degree. But right now it is 160, 162 credits. So thanks to the AICT, and the AICT is saying that we should let the student do other things which they want to do. So this is something which we should try to understand. Mandatory skills should be imparted, health and wellness, hiring counselor at in school complexes. This is what a lot of schools are doing. We should appoint certain counselor who should try to counsel the students as well as the teacher. So there should be certain counselor who should try to help the students and the teacher to keep up with a lot of problems which happen with their mental state. We should also look in and focus on the children with disability. So we should try to give conducive environment so that they do well in their life, and they take the education. The school should come up with the facilities for differentially abled students, like making up of the ramps, wherever possible, you can say putting the lifts, and accordingly making all that those things which are required to help those differentially abled students to a greater extent. Then we should also look at the inclusive and caring culture at the school. It is not only for the school education, but it is also applicable for the higher education. There should be some kind of inclusion and caring culture in schools and in higher education. Next slide, please. Now I'll be talking about the innovative pedagogy. So herein we are talking about transforming teaching learning process. So we should focus on the experiential learning, focus on experiment, inquiry and discovery based teaching learning methods. They should be integrated pedagogy, like I have talked about in the previous slide. There should be integration of the art, sports, storytelling, and ICT, information and communication technology integrated pedagogy. Promotion of peer tutoring, I have talked about it. Equal weightage should be there for curricular and co-curricular or maybe extracurricular activities. Freedom of choosing a variety of subject combination to be provided. So it should be up to the student to pick up the subject, and not the education body should not force or impart the subjects to the students. So this is something which is very good in the new education policy. Bagless days, bagless days to be scheduled in academic calendar. So this, although this is meant for a few days, but over the period of time, maybe by 2040, when this will be implemented, we will be having bagless kind of scenarios. In those scenarios, the student should not carry the bags, and everything would be bagless. Use of integration of technology, as we all know that there should be integration of the technology, and technology is doing a great job in helping the education to reach from one place to another place. In this COVID time, we have all seen the use of technology. Even right now, I am sitting at different place, you people are sitting at different place, but we are interacting with each other. This is only possible because of the ICT, information and communication technology. So information technology is everywhere, and we should try to use the technology as much as possible. So these are basically something which we can talk about the innovative pedagogy. So we have to transform our teaching learning process to a great extent. Next slide, please. Okay, now as I was talking about the textbook with local contents and flavors. All the textbook to contain only essential core material, while the capturing any desired nuances and supplementary material as per local context and the needs. So what the new education policy is saying, that there should be some core which is core, and the rest should be filled with the local context. So we should try to let the student know about the concept by taking care of the local context and the flavors. So if somebody has done some work in a particular area from a particular local area, so he or she should be talked about in the classes. Rather than talking somebody who is from outside, we should talk about somebody who has done some work in this particular country, or maybe this particular state, or maybe from this particular district as applicable. So if you're talking about say physics, so we always talk about Einstein. Yes, it is important to talk about Einstein, but if somebody has done some good work in that particular area in India, or maybe from certain district, he should be talked about, so that the student get inspired by those people. We should talk about local people, because that is something which is very important. Affordable, high quality and energized textbooks to be provided, along with free digital version on Diksha platform. States to prepare their own curricula and textbook based on NCERT curriculum and textbook, incorporating state flavor and material as needed. So this is something which is very important. So the states will have the liberty to prepare the curricula and the textbook based on NCERT curriculum, and they can include the state flavor in the material, and it will help the student to learn more about the local context. Concerned effort through suitable changes in the curriculum and pedagogy to signify reduction in the weight of school bags and the textbook. So in the coming days, we all know about it, that everything will be digital in nature, and everything will be bagless, and we will have definitely be in the era wherein everything will be done based on what I'll call digital platforms. So this is what is going to happen in the next 5 years. 5 or 10 years, this will definitely happen. So we'll not have the bags, we'll not have the textbook, everything will be there in some digital, you can say, notebook, which maybe the government give, or maybe the student can afford, and based on that the education will be imparted in the coming years. So that is what is going to happen in the future. So this is what is basically the context of textbook with the local content. Next slide, please. So, but there is also the NEP also mentioned about the examination in the grades 1 to 8, moving away from the rote learning result of the school examination. So it should be used only for the developmental purposes and for the continuous monitoring and improving of the schooling system. Continuous evaluation should be there. Key stages of assessment should be there. The achievement of critical LOs, we should try to look at whether we are able to achieve the LOs. So there are matrices with the help of which we can measure the outcome. So these are few of the other aspects which are included in the NEP 2020. Next slide, please. Reforming examination in the grades 9 to 12, including board exams. So this particular policy also talks about the reform in the examination in grades from 9 to 12. Board examination will be made easier as they will test primarily core capabilities and the competencies. Viable models to be explored: annual semester, modular examination, two-part system, objective type and descriptive type, and a lot of things are already happening. The school right now, the school system for 10th and 12th class, I hope all of you know about it. It has been converted into terms, and so we are witnessing a lot of changes in the assessment part, and that we are seeing in the school education. Guidelines will be prepared by the NCERT in consultation with the SCERT, Board of Assessment, and PARAK. Teachers to be prepared for a transformation in the assessment system by 2022-23 academic system. So the teachers will be prepared for that, and they will try to assess the student in a better way. Each school board shall ensure equivalence of academic standard in learners' attainment, standards, norms, and guideline for school boards through PARAK National Center. So this is what is going to happen in the reform in the examination in grades from 9 to 12. Next slide, please. We also have to look at the transformation of the culture of assessment. Continuous tracking of learning outcome for each student's board exams to be made more flexible with assessment of essential skills. Assessment of focus on core concepts, higher order and fundamental skills should be there. AI-based softwares to help track the progress of students to enable them more optimal care. And NAC, that is National Assessment Center, will help bringing greater synergies in board exams. So these are all the things which are happening. The national testing agencies will work to offer high quality common aptitude tests to eliminate the need for taking coaching of these exams. So this is the irony, like our school education is not able to help the student to prepare them for the competitive examinations. In that particular context, the NTA is working to a great extent. So they will work on to help the student to prepare for different examination. And there will be a day when the student will be able to learn everything which is required to crack a competitive exam in the school only. So there will be no need of coaching. So this is the vision of national new education policy. Next slide, please. So the next thing is holistic progress card. State UTs, union territories to redesign the progress card in school to make them holistic. 360-degree multi-dimensional report. Progress card would include self-assessment, peer assessment, and teacher assessment. Cards to reflect the progress and the uniqueness of learning in the cognitive, affective, social, emotional, and psychomotor domains, and likewise. So what this particular slide is trying to say that we have to again look at the progress card. The traditional progress card only talked about the numbers which the student used to get in certain subjects, but we have to look into different aspects. Like if somebody is good in say for example art, if somebody is good in music, so we have to look into that, and it should be reflected in the progress report. So there should be the assessment of the student based on teacher assessment, the peer assessment, and the self-assessment. So these are the things which will be there in the progress card. So we will try to do that in the coming days. So we'll try to do that. We'll try to do that in the coming days. Okay, so next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, I've talked about this. The medium of instruction up till grade 5 and preferably till grade 8 and beyond will be home language, mother tongue, or local language. So the new education policy is propagating the local language, the power of language learning. So medium of instruction up till grade 5 and preferably till grade 8 and beyond will be home language, mother tongue, and the local language. The Languages of India, a fun project activity to be taken by every student. 3 languages to be taught will be decided by the state or the union territory. All classical language will be widely accessed and widely used. So this particular slide tried to emphasize that the local language will be preferred rather than other languages, and it is up to the state to decide on the language in which the state want to give education in a particular language. So it is something which is very good in new education policy. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'll be talking about the higher education. We have talked about the school education. The concepts are the same, the spirit is the same, but there is a little bit difference. Like we are right now talking about the higher education. As per the policy, public investment in education will be increased from current 4.3 to 6%. Increased gross enrollment in higher education to reach at least by 50% by 2035. The aim will be to increase the gross enrollment ratio in higher education, including vocational education, from 26.3% to 50% by 2035. Holistic multidisciplinary education should be there. So we are trying to talk about multidisciplinary holistic education at the undergraduate level for integrated rigorous exposure to science, arts, humanities, mathematics, and professional fields, having imaginative and flexible curricular structure, creating combination of studies. So the new education policy is saying that there should be integration of different fields, like the engineering should be will have input from art, input from humanities, input from mathematics. The same is true with other domains, other educational fields also. So there should be holistic integrated education which should be given to everybody. So the new education policy says that there should be holistic multidisciplinary education, and that should be given to everybody. Next slide, please. The undergraduate degree will be either of 3 or 4 years with the multiple exit option within this particular period with appropriate certification. The new education policy is saying that there should be multiple exit in the present education system. Right now, if a person is doing a program, say BSc program, if he has completed only 2 years, he does not get anything out of it. If the person do a program for 2 years, a 3-year program for 2 years, then he do not get anything out of whatever he or she does. But the new policy is saying that the student will get diploma, the student will get degree, the student will get certificate program based on the time which he or she has imparted in that particular course. So there are multiple exit and multiple entry in various programs. A 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor program shall be the preferred option, since it allows the opportunity to experience the full range of holistic and multidisciplinary education, in addition to a focus to a chosen major and minor as per the choices of the student. So it is preferable, but if the student only study for 1 year, he or she will get a certificate. If he or she do it for 2 years, he or she will get a diploma, and after three years, the student will get the bachelor degree. So this is something which is there. Now the new education policy also talks about academic bank of credit, which will be created or established, which will digitally store the academic credits earned from various recognized HEI, higher education institutions. Like if a student does a particular course from a particular institution, that particular credit of that course will be credited to the academic bank of credit, and it will be used maybe at later point of time. If the student wish to continue somewhere, those credits will be accounted in that particular study. So this is something which is also very important in the new education policy. Next slide, please. Okay, model public universities for holistic and multidisciplinary education. Multidisciplinary education and research universities will be set up and will aim to attain the highest standard for multidisciplinary education across India. So this education policy is talking about the multidisciplinary education and research universities. It will also be called as MERUs, which will set up to aim the highest standard for multidisciplinary education across India, so that we can compete with Harvard, we can compete with Berkeley, we can compete with other good institutions across the universities. A number of initiatives will be taken to ensure optimal learning environment and are created that are engaging and supporting. So all institutions and faculty will have the autonomy to innovate on the matters of curriculum, pedagogy and assessment within a broad framework of higher education qualification. Means the faculty will have the liberty to design the curriculum, to choose the pedagogy and to the assessment within a broader framework as defined by the higher education authorities. So this is something which is also very good in the new education policy. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, HEI shall move to a criterion-based grading system that assesses the student's achievement based on learning goals for each program. So we are, since a lot of us are from higher education, we know about this. Like criterion-based grading systems are what is happening, and we are trying to assess the student based on broader perspective, which is criterion based. Universities and colleges will set up a high quality support center and will be given adequate funds and academic resources to encourage and support students from socio-economically disadvantaged background. So as we were talking about earlier, we have to look into all aspects of the society, from disadvantaged background people to well-off family background student. We should take care of everybody. Next slide. Okay, so we also need to look at the rationalized institutional architecture. I'll take next 5 minutes because the time is ending. So I'll again take just hardly 5 to 7 minutes to complete my presentation. Higher education institutions will be transformed into the large multidisciplinary universities, colleges, and HEI clusters knowledge hubs, which each of which will aim to have 3,000 or more students. Our university will mean our multidisciplinary institutions of higher learning that offer undergraduate and graduate programs with high quality teaching, research, and community engagement. So the institutional architecture will also be rationalized in the new education policy. Next slide, please. A new entity will be set up to catalyze and expand research and innovation across the country. The goal of NRF, that is National Research Foundation, will be to enable a culture of research to permeate through the universities, helping to develop a culture of research in the country. And this is required because if we wish to flourish, if we wish to compete with the best in the class, in the international scenario, we have to develop the culture of innovation. And this particular NRF is aimed to achieve that. And this is also propagated in the national education policy. And they are saying that there should be some kind of foundation which should look into the development of the innovation culture across the country. And this particular entity, National Research Foundation, will look into that particular aspect. Next slide. Open and distance learning. We all know about the aspect of MOOCs. In the coming days, a lot of education will happen from massive online open source courses. MOOC, Swayam is the example. The government of India has started Swayam, and there are various other, you can say, platforms also which are giving the online and distance education. We all know about it, and our purpose is to increase the gross enrollment ratio, because if we have the liberty to do a particular program or the course sitting at our own home, we will definitely try to enroll into that particular aspect or program. So this is what is also propagated in the new education policy. Next slide, please. Motivated, energized, and capable faculty. This will be done through the faculties. So the new education policy is also talking about the faculty. The faculty should be motivated, they should be energized, and they should be capable faculty. And HEI will take all the steps to achieve that. So they will come up with various programs with the help of which they can help the faculty to learn new concepts so that they can teach the student in the better way. HEIs will be responsible for making the conducive environment for learning and development. And this will be done because ultimately it will be the faculties who will help the student to learn more in an effective way. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's all from my side. I have tried to take the input from whatever is available online. So I have taken the help from various other aspects. So that's all from my side. So over to you, Vikas sir.
Participants can ask questions.
Thank you so much, sir. So we have one question from Shweta Krishna ma'am. She has raised her hand for audience.
Hello.
Sir, hello. So you are not audible, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Ms. Shweta, would you like to ask some question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Sir, I would like to ask one question, which was the topic of discussion in between the session also. So my question is, like you were talking about China and Japan. In those countries, only one language is there, like Chinese and Japanese. But in India, there is variety of languages.
Yeah.
So if there is any transfer case and person has to move from one place to other place, it will be very difficult for the you can say nursery, first, second grade child to cope up with the language problem, because in one place they are studying in Punjabi, on the other place they are studying in Gujarati. So that will be a problem for those kids whose parents are having transfer related jobs. So what is your suggestion regarding this?
Okay, the new education policy have taken care of this particular aspect, and what they are thinking is that although this particular aspect is there, but like if you're talking about the language, then language should not be a problem. So say for example, I have talked about like the state will decide in which particular language the students will be taught. So if they have selected 3 languages, then they will be able to complete the education in those language from that particular state. Now definitely there will be problem when that particular student who have who got the education in one particular language come to second place wherein the language is different. So I do agree with you that there will be problem, but there will be certain higher education institutions wherein this kind of facility will be there. Like if we talk about, say, for example, JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, which is in Delhi. So therein you'll see that there are various programs which are there. So this particular aspects will be taken care of by establishing bigger universities wherein the medium of language will be in that particular language. But practically speaking, yes, there is problem because we in India have lot of languages. Yes, I do agree with you that problem will be there, but maybe after due consultation, we'll come up with certain solution regarding this particular aspect.
So we have another attendee.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Vijay ma'am, please, you can ask your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you for such an informative session, sir. Sir, my question again is in line with Dr. Shweta's question. This was like, in Canada and all, there are 2 official languages, sir. They have English as well as French. And we know our lost heritage, our knowledge on Veda and everything, more or less it is in Sanskrit language. Somehow we have lost the the value of Sanskrit language in our country. So is there a possibility that we can have 2 official languages like Hindi as well as Sanskrit, so that all over India, whichever school the student studies and whichever place their parents get a transfer, that they will be able to follow either of these languages, and they won't be having any problem in the learning because of the regional languages. I would like to have your opinion on this, sir.
Okay, a very difficult kind of observation, or you can say question. But I'm not very sure, and I'm not the authority to say whether there should be 2 kind of languages. One is official and second language. And moreover, then there would be questions like how well we can say that only Sanskrit should be the second language. This is my personal opinion. So yeah. I personally believe and feel that no language is good or bad. I mean, there we can do every other possible things in any language. So the only thing that will be required is to inculcate the knowledge in that particular language. Like if you're talking about engineering, then in engineering, whether we are able to teach the students in a particular local language, a lot of universities have taken this particular initiative. So whether we are in a particular situation or the scenario wherein we can teach something in a particular language, and if you are talking about, say, Sanskrit, then we have to find out a particular scenario wherein a particular knowledge can be imparted to the student through Sanskrit language. So language should not be barrier. So NEP is saying that language should not be barrier. Language should try to help the student rather than restrict the student in getting the knowledge. So that is something which we have to understand. So the basic you can say spirit of this particular NEP is that the learning should not be restricted by certain hurdles like language. This is my personal opinion.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other attendee who would like to ask any question to sir? The house is open. If there are no questions, sir, I would like to conclude the session with your due permission.
Okay, so thank you all for giving me.
Just conclude the session, sir. On behalf of Geeta Ratan International Business School, I express my heartfelt thanks to our speaker, Professor Sandeep Srivastava, for taking out their precious time to join this event. I would also like to thank all the attendees for making the session a success, for carefully listening and observing what sir has to say. Now, I would like to inform all the attendees that the next session is scheduled for 2 p.m. on the topic Overview of NBA Approach, Process of Accreditation, Vision, Mission and Goals, Process of Visioning, SWOT Analysis. To be delivered by Professor Dr. B.S. Pabla. He is a professor in Mechanical Engineering Department at National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, Chandigarh. Thank you so much, sir. And it was lovely listening to you. You made a really good observation about the new education policy, and we have thoroughly enjoyed your session. Lastly, before we end this session, I would request all the attendees to fill the feedback form that has been provided to you in the chat section as well as the WhatsApp group, without which the certificates would not be issued to you. Thank you everyone for carefully listening, and thank you once again, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sandeep Srivastava, for
Thank you, sir.
Accepting our invitation and joined the session and shared your valuable words. And we are very delighted that you shared about national education policy, and we got a lot many information from this session as well. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all the participants, and we are waiting to you all in the next session starting from 2 p.m. Okay, thank you so much.